See if I can wait till people come in here. Hey guys, welcome back to the Calibrate Tools and DIY channel. I am here on a Sunday morning, and this is a rarity because I hardly ever come on alive on a Sunday morning, and I really don't post videos on Sundays either. I used to in the beginning. I used to post videos between Friday and Sunday, and then I stopped doing that because I started having a more, precise schedule, which is Tuesdays and Thursdays. That's when I post my lives on Tuesdays and my regular tutorial videos on Thursdays. Okay, that's usually how it goes. So, but I decided to come on today. I had a few things on my mind, and I'm also going to be promoting some of the products that I have for you guys as well. But I didn't want to try to, come on as someone who's trying to hard sell you something. I figured we would talk about something that's, pretty familiar with the theme of this channel, which is college over the trades, And I'm not saying one is better than the other, but I will say that a non-strategic approach to a college education can land you in the poorhouse because it will saddle you with debt and, just a waste of time. So, that's versus, maybe going to a 6-month trade school, learning a skill, getting out there in the workforce, and even in some cases getting paid while you learn. Okay, I was just talking to an electrician the other day, and I asked him, "Hey, what trade school did you go to learn your trade?" And he said, "Well, I joined an apprentice program, I think with a union or something like that, and they paid him while." He worked while he learned his trade, while he plied his goods. They paid him. And that's the most ideal situation that you can come across if you want to learn a skill, right? Why not get paid learning that skill at the same time as you advance on up the rung, on up the proverbial ladder there. And I thought, hey, man, that's the way to do it. That's the way to do it. And they have many programs out there. If you seek and, if you're looking for them, you will find them. Okay. And I myself was an instructor at a trade school myself, a welding trade school. And it only took about a month for the kids to learn the 4 processes of welding, after which they had the certifications, and they went out in the workforce and they were much more equipped to land the job. It may not have been right away, but they definitely landed something. And, that could get their foot in the door, whether it was with the union or a union, or whether it was the sheet metal union, the iron workers union. It doesn't matter. The opportunities were, pretty much laid out for them just because of that month's time that they took out of their life to learn a skill. And that's the beauty of it, right? It doesn't take forever, and it doesn't saddle you with that. Some of these schools, you don't have to pay a thing, but you just got to go out there and look, right? You got to go out there and look. So you can change your life in a matter of months or weeks just by making that one decision and sticking to it. And I've seen it happen. Like I said, I was an instructor, and I've cycled many people through the program. And, it was a beautiful thing to see. People's lives changed. So that's one of the reasons I promote the trades over a non-strategic college education, because a non-strategic college education, in my opinion, is like the road paved with good intentions. But guess where that's going? That's going straight to hell for you, a financial hell, an economic hell, and who knows what else, right? Because it all bleeds out into other areas of your life. Okay. So why not learn a skill? But I also have deeper reasons on why I promote the trades over a non-strategic college education. And it has nothing to do with a college education at all. It has to do with history, guys. It has to do with history. I want you to hear me out. I come from a community that's been marginalized from day one in this country. And for those of you that, think, oh, here goes another victim blaming the system again. No, it's not about that. It's about reality, okay? And I am doing my part by creating this channel to at least open your eyes, if they haven't been already, to some of the harsh realities and how history can have a profound effect on, you know, where you are today. Just look at your life individually, right? There's things you've done in your past or things that have happened to you in your past that have affected your life up to this day. It could have been 50 years ago. It could have been, I mean, think of all the people with childhood trauma that are still dealing with it, still getting therapy, still trying to overcome it. And, you know, fortunately, because of the resilience of the human spirit, you are able to overcome a lot of those things and move on. And, you know, to be honest, a lot of those things are the reason you become successful anyway. But that's not excusing that they happen. You became successful in spite of them, not because of them. Okay. So that's one way to look at it, right? You became successful. You overcame them because you had challenges. We all have challenges. Okay. We all have challenges in life. And, you know, I want to tie that into where I'm going with this subject here, because the reason that I promote the trades over college education, once again, it's not simply because I want to defy, the norms, as you know, to go to college and all that. No, the historical significance of why I do what I do is the main driver as to why I promote them. Okay, once again, my community has been marginalized, and it's still on the bottom of the economic ladder. The wealth gap has not really closed since the Emancipation Proclamation. Why is that? Okay, because after, and I'm going to get into a little history here, guys. So if you want to stick around for that, I'm kind of a history buff, and I like to tie things in. When African Americans were so-called freed, guess what? That was not necessarily freedom. Matter of fact, that was the whole Civil War was fought over that, right? Okay, and it wasn't necessarily because they wanted them to be, free, right? It was just an economic thing. And if you ask Abraham Lincoln, he really didn't care if they were free or not. If you really dive into, the old speeches he gave around that, you'll see that it wasn't really his intention. But that's a whole other story. But after they were, these laws were passed and they were allowed, or I should say slavery was abolished, they still had many barriers that were erected immediately after this to further prevent them from having actual freedom. Okay. There were we can get into that like deep if you want, but there were the Jim Crow laws. There were, they were still hunted down. There were laws passed where they weren't allowed to work. All kinds of things happened, right? So what happened was they were forced to pretty much be self-sufficient, which I think, in spite of the resistance against them, they were forced to be self-sufficient. And that's what happens when you have resistance and nobody wants to help you. You have to be self-sufficient. So that's what happened. So they built their towns, because they weren't allowed, right? They weren't allowed to be in the broader society. So they were pretty much insulated through prejudice and racism and all that. And so they had to build their own communities, and they did that, and they did it very, very, very well. I mean, just do the research there. I mean, you hear about the 1921 Tulsa massacre. That was a result of African Americans being very, very successful at building their own communities, right? Building their own communities, building their towns, being self-sufficient. Why? Because nobody else wanted to deal with them. So they did it themselves, and it was a fully functioning society, microcosms of the broader society, meaning, they had everything they needed, right? And matter of fact, they were doing a lot better than the broader, some towns, in the broader society, right? And that produced a lot of enmity, jealousy from the broader society, and that caused these towns to be targeted, marked for death, I should say, right? Marked for destruction, because that couldn't be tolerated. And you hear about Tulsa, right? But there were many other towns. Matter of fact, that there's a list. I'm not going to go through all of them. There's a few of them I like to go over here, just to give you some context. Let's see here. Let's see if I can find this. Where did I? What did I do here? You know, I hate when I pull something up and then I get into a live and I seem to have lost my way with them. Okay, hold on. So I'll find it in a second. Just be a little more patient with me. Here we go. Here we go, guys. Okay, so it says several African American towns and communities in the United States have been destroyed or significantly impacted by violence and discrimination. Here are a few prominent examples. Tulsa, Oklahoma, the Greenwood District, known as Black Wall Street, was a thriving Black community with successful businesses and residents. In 1921, it was attacked and destroyed, by a mob, resulting in hundreds of deaths and thousands left homeless. Yeah, so let's see here. Rosewood, Florida, in 1923, the Black town of Rosewood was attacked and burned by white mobs after a white woman was falsely accused the Black man of assault. Estimates of the dead range from at least 6 to as many as 150. Ocoee, Florida, in 1920, the Ocoee Massacre, I think that's how you pronounce that name, resulted in the burning of the Black community and the killing or expulsion of its residents to prevent them from voting. Chicago, Illinois, 1919, guys. This is, not too long ago, okay? 1921, 23, 1920, 1919, all around the same time. This is Chicago in 1919. During the Red Summer of 1919, racial violence erupted in Chicago, resulting in numerous deaths and the destruction of Black homes and businesses. East St. Louis, Illinois, 1917. Race riots in 1917 resulted in the death of 40 to 250 Black people and caused significant property damage, leaving thousands homeless. Okay, Wilmington, North Carolina, yeah. Yeah, this is another prominent one you hear about. This was in 1898, okay? A white supremacist coup overthrew the elected government, and attacked the Black community, resulting in numerous deaths and the expulsion of many Black residents. All right. So, guys, these are just some examples of, what happened during that time where African Americans were, doing their thing. They created these successful towns, and I don't want to say whatever reason. We know the reason. They were destroyed. Okay, they were destroyed. And you look around today in America, and you hardly see replications of this. When was the last time you seen a prosperous African American town? Okay, that's known for that. You don't really see that. I mean, you hear about certain cities that are more predominantly African American that may be doing okay. I can only think of one. That's maybe in Georgia, Atlanta, Georgia, maybe, where the population, the African American population may be, you might be the dominant demographic. But outside of that, you don't really hear of towns like this that existed that were thriving. Okay, thriving Black communities that were destroyed. Okay, and what I see today are what you call hoods, what we call the hood, what we call neighborhoods and stuff like that. Nothing that you can specifically say this is a thriving Black community. And here when I read this list, I see Illinois, I see North Carolina, I see Oklahoma, I see Florida. You think when you think of it today, you only hear, like I said, I mentioned Atlanta, Georgia. That's one place. That's one place. And I'm not talking about affluent neighborhoods where affluent African Americans live because they may have a good job. A few of them may have businesses. I'm not talking about neighborhoods. I'm talking about communities. Here in Los Angeles, you have, that's where I am, Southern California. You have little Tokyo. You have little Philippines. You have little Vietnam. You have little Armenia. You have all these little of all these other cultures, and because their demographics seems to congregate there, but you don't hear that about the African American community. I think that's a problem. Okay, How can your community, your culture be reduced to just being called the hood? That's, to me, that's an insult, and that's really a downgrade from these times. That's a downgrade from 1923 to or 1898 to 1921 or 23. We have fell. We have fell, and we know why. It's not just our fault. So when I hear people say, "Oh, you know, what are they doing with themselves? That's their culture. They're they're not upwardly mobile. They're not educated enough." Well, I want you to look at your history and what you've done to the Black community in this country to cause what you see now to happen, right? You went in there, okay, and destroyed these thriving community because you didn't want them to rise. You didn't want them to rise at all right? And I think in Oklahoma, you actually bombed. When I say you, I'm not talking about you individually. I'm talking about the American government and its citizens. You went in there and bombed Tulsa, Oklahoma. You actually dropped a bomb on them. You know, we hear about you dropped a bomb on your own citizens that you didn't even consider citizens. You didn't consider them people. That's not taught about, is it, in schools, right? So imagine you know, when you think about what America should be, or the ideal of America, right? The ideal of this land of the free, home, which is just an ideal. It was, you know, you didn't mean that for African Americans. That's why you went in there, and destroyed their towns. And then you decided to say, hey, okay, we're going to integrate them. This is, you know, during the civil rights movement. They're fighting for their rights. We're going to integrate them. We're going to allow them to be around us. We're going to pass laws. But the only reason we're doing that is because we saw how much they thrived on their own. And we don't want them to be that strong. We don't want them to build their own towns again. So we're going to give them the illusion of inclusion and, you know, absorb them into our system and give them the, you know, the facade of inclusion and stuff like that. And, you know, everything, you know, but we know what we think about them. We know what they are. Right. And so this is essentially what is what happened here, guys. Okay. So given the context of what I just told you is some of the reasons why I promote what I promote on this channel. I promote self-sufficiency, building your own. And that's pretty much the core of what I'm talking about here. Okay. And being able to build the infrastructure upon which a community is built is of the utmost important to me. Is of the utmost important to me, and that starts with our kids, okay, learning the basic building skills, learning tools, learning how to use them, and that's how you build communities. Okay, everything else, at the end of the day, is based on this. So when I was listening to a story of a young lady. She was telling a story about how she wanted to date this young man at one point in her life when she was a young kid. And the young man had visions of going to a trade school and, you know, having a career in the trades, because that young man's family were tradespeople, and this is what he wanted to do, right? He wanted to go and follow the same path. And the young lady liked him, you know, and she wanted to be with him, but she went and told her mother that's what this kid wanted to do. And the mother said, you don't want to be with that loser. Tradespeople are losers. And which was, you know, it was actually quite amusing, quite funny to hear that coming from this lady, because she didn't understand how communities, how societies are built. You can't have a white collar society without a blue collar society. It just doesn't exist. You know, you take the blue collar work actually building the physical infrastructure of a community is the core foundation of any society. You have to have builders, you have to have architects, you have to have just simple people to lay the foundations, draw the plans, lay the plumbing, install the electrician, frame the homes, build the skyscrapers. You have to have people to know what they're doing, knowing how to use these tools, people to get their hands dirty. Without them, you have nothing. That house you're sitting in, that car you're driving, you need people to build those and put those together. You need people to fix those things when something happens. A natural disaster comes and wrecks your whole city or town. Guess what? You're going to need the tradespeople to come in and fix them and build it back. If you don't have those people, guess what you have? You don't have anything. You need the human resources to be able to do this. Yet tradespeople, in some people's minds get no respect. They think that they're on the bottom. You know what I'm saying? It's an absolutely ridiculous way of thinking, but it's part of that warped and twisted side of human nature as well. E. Brooklyn, how you doing, sir? You have spoken words of wisdom. Babylon will need to pay for her sins of God, for God has not forgotten them. P.S. Jesus was a carpenter. Absolutely. Every time I think about the trades and, I think about that, I say, yeah, he was a carpenter, wasn't he? He was a carpenter. He built. And I wonder why that was actually, divulged to us that he was a carpenter. And the way I see that, E. Brooklyn, is that, carpenters are builders, right? He was a builder. That was a metaphor. Even if he was just a literal carpenter, right? Like I said, he could have been anything. He could have been anything else, but he was a carpenter. Was that a way to say, okay, to kind of get across an aspect of humility that we all need to think about? We need to be more humble, because you say, oh, the humble and lowly carpenter, right? That's one way of looking at it. But I love the fact that he was a carpenter. I love that fact. Okay, it means he's a builder. He's a builder, not just of buildings and stuff like that, but he's a builder of men as well. So yeah, E. Brooklyn, good point. I always think about that, by the way. So anyway, guys, what I'm really saying here is that, this is why I push what I push. Okay, it's not only just about getting people to take up a trade and all that. It's almost personal for me, right? Because it's historical, right? It's had an historical impact on me when studying history and seeing what happened. Okay, and even the barriers that are erected today, to me, says that it's a need for self-sufficiency more than ever, entrepreneurship more than ever, building businesses more than ever, bringing it back to those days, even though those days were, the monsters of discrimination, prejudice, and racism plagued us even today, but especially back then. They still built their own towns and cities, and this is a shining example of where we need to go back to, in my opinion. And don't forget, right? You can only be insulated from these things by sticking together and supporting each other economically, right? Economically, socially, emotionally. We all need this. We all need this, guys. So one way to support what I do, guys, is to go to that link that's in the chat right here. Let me see if I can put it up right here. Go there, guys, and grab some of the products that I put together since I've been building this channel for you guys. Okay, I've put together some good toolkits, our own proprietary products like the Exactech picture hanging tool, other items that I think is essential for a basic toolkit. And these toolkits are great to give your kids as well, to introduce them to tools and what tools can do, especially if they have a propensity to build things, or they show an interest in the trades, or maybe you're a tradesman yourself and you want to, kind of show your kids or give them their own toolkit, tool bag. That's what we have here. And I'm asking you guys to check it out. Okay. Check out the store and see some of the items we have there. And they're great gift items. Okay. They're great gift items. And that helps to support what I do here on the channel. Okay. I use some of those proceeds to go get these tools. These tools are not the cheapest, but I do it because I want to show you guys. I go ahead and grab them because I want to show you guys. So by supporting the channel and going to, grab some of these tools out of the store, or some of the links I have in the description, because we have the merch store underneath the videos as well. And then we have the calibrate.com link as well. That will really help, guys. That will really help keep this channel going. And one thing about this channel is I like on the lives, I love to dive into different aspects and tie everything in. I'm kind of like a history buff, and I like to study different aspects of life and tie it into what tools are, what building is, and how it's really all just one thing. Okay, if you really think about it. Okay. E Brooklyn, yeah, I appreciate you, E Brooklyn. Thanks a lot for coming in. E Brooklyn has been supporting me for a while, and I want to say I appreciate you, E Brooklyn, for your kind sentiments and all of that. And that's not, it doesn't go unnoticed. Okay. So yeah, guys, for me, it has a much deeper significance, guys. When I'm talking about the trades and talking about tools and showing you guys how to use tools and things like that, because you're going to have to be able to build, you're going to be able to do your own thing. And so if somebody comes in and destroyed it, like they came in and destroyed these thriving, prosperous towns, African-American towns, you're going to have people from that same community that was victimized. You're going to have, you need them to be able to build again, right? You're going to need them to be able to build again. I just found out recently, guys, I'm here in Southern California, Los Angeles. I just found out that the LAX airport, one of the most popular airports in the country, was actually built on top of a African-American town that was destroyed. Did you guys know that? There are a lot of places in the country where there are, it can be a highway that's going through a certain area. There were people living in those places that they put these these structures on, right? There are many instances of highways that were, in order for them to be built, they had to destroy an African-American town. It could have been other towns of different people. It could have been Native American settlements as well. But in order to do that, they displaced these people, right? They destroyed these towns, thriving towns, just to build a highway. And it was done on purpose. That airport, like I said, the LAX airport was built on top of a thriving African-American town. Did they have to move that town? Did they have to put it there on top of a thriving community, or could they have put it somewhere else? No, they did it on purpose. Yeah. So guys, when you hear about stories like this, what does it make you, how does that make you feel? What does it make you think? Or you just brush it off and say, well, they weren't strong enough to resist it, so whatever, that's on them. That's not our fault that that happened. Where's the accountability here? Yet, you have a society that points the finger at who they consider the lowest of the low. Who is the lowest of the low here? The person that deliberately went and destroyed these thriving communities, or the communities themselves? Where are you going? Okay. So yeah, that's really what motivates me here, to tell the truth. And I know the truth gets gets vilified. You know, you tell the truth too much and people have a problem with it. That's just the way it is because they want to live the lie. But everybody's not living the lie, guys. Okay, understand that. But it's one thing to know about, you know, the lies and all that, and uncover the truth and want to have a better world and all that. But what are you doing about it? I know what I'm doing about it, and part of what I'm doing about it is creating this channel. Okay, creating this channel to educate people more, especially these communities, the community I came from, and to say, hey, look, you're builders again. You are builders. Don't forget that. Okay, don't forget you're builders. And you're going to be able to build no matter how many times they destroy it. Okay. Okay, but you have to have the education to do that. All right. Well, anyway, guys, that's my life for tonight. Please go ahead and check out the Calibrate tool store, or you can go to calibrate.com as well and support the channel. Grab a tool bag, grab a picture hanging tool, measure tape. We have a few items on there for you to support, and I would love to see you do that. Okay, and I'll give you a shout out on the next video once you make your purchase. Anyway, guys, I appreciate you listening. Hopefully you've learned and not turned your ears off. I mean, if you turned your ears off for what from what I'm talking about today and the things I sometimes talk about that have, you know, some social significance, then maybe you don't need to be watching this channel. Okay, because this is a holistic channel, not just a tool channel, not just a regular old DIY channel. Okay, no, I don't talk about this stuff in my tutorial videos because that's not the place for it. That's what I reserve the lives for. Okay, and but anyway, guys, appreciate you. Eat Brooklyn, thanks again for coming in, tuning in. Appreciate you, and see you guys on the next one. Take care.